sort of linked it to 1945, obviously after the war, high inflation was very positive for, people borrowing. So you sort of see it becoming potentially similar to that.
Yeah, that's exactly. And you've got that. You just hit the nail on the head there. It has to be to the benefit of borrowers and not to the benefit of savers. That's the crucial thing here. It's easy to say it's to the benefit of borrowers, but who's it not to the benefit of? And that is absolutely savers. So a very good example in 45. If you were one of those great patriots in the United Kingdom who funded the government to defeat fascism, just in the next 15 years, you lost about 40% of all your savings. Because you held government bonds, the price of the government bonds went down, inflation went up. And if you held them, if you were foolish enough to hold them all the way to 1982, I think it was, you lost about 90% of all your money. So you did the right thing, and there were good reasons to do it. People were making much bigger sacrifices than their savings. But there was no doubt, everybody knew that that's who was going to have to pay for this. And that's where we are today. And it's not just a COVID thing. COVID is just, debt to GDP was very, very high. COVID's taken us to a higher level. So most savers these days, and savers tend to be older people, are trying to work out how they can have any hope at all of beating this inflation tax. Or if you're young, of course, it's exactly the reverse, because inflation will have to include wage inflation. And if you're borrowing for a mortgage and interest rates don't go up. So let's be honest here, this is also a transfer of wealth between generations. I think many young people think the baby boom generation has had it too good in terms of getting lucky with property prices, etc. Well, what we're talking about here is a mechanism through which some of that wealth has moved back in the other direction. But ultimately, it has to come through wage inflation. If it doesn't come through wage inflation, then your generation isn't going to benefit from that transfer. But that's the plan. It's not a spoken plan. It's not overt, but I think you can see it in almost every government policy out there. And the reason it's not overt is that you mustn't frighten the savers. I mean, the savers mustn't know that you're doing this. So I describe this policy as stealing money from old people slowly. If you do it slowly enough, they don't really wake up and work it out. So it's been underway for years, and I think it'll accelerate.